This is Chapter 13, Part 2. The year is spring 2014. This is the section in your book that talks about ideology and civility in Congress. Members are sharply divided by political ideology, especially in today's Congress. Attitudinal explanation has increased, while organizational explanation has decreased. We know that Democrats are typically seen as liberals and conservatives are typically seen as Republicans. That certainly hasn't changed, but with new members being elected, hopefully there will be more of a compromise as we get to November 2014 into the new session in January of 2015. But as we've seen, Congress has become more polarized, and as a result, members don't get along as well if they disagree, and members are more likely to challenge, investigate, and denounce one another. This results in the public being even more put off by the political disposition of members and by the political disposition members have to attack one another. We need to look at the organization of Congress, parties and caucuses, because obviously parties play a huge role, all right, especially at this point in time. Congress is a collection of organizations by which the business of the legislative branch is carried on and through which its members form alliances. Democrats and Republicans in the House and Senate are organized by party leaders who are elected by the full party membership within the House and Senate. Remember that parties are not mentioned in the Constitution, but parties rapidly developed along the cleavages left over from the ratification debates. At the beginning of each new Congress, each party gathers in its caucus or conference to nominate and elect officers, review committee assignments, discuss policy, and more. The party organization in the Senate is the one we need to take care of first. The presiding officer of the Senate, according to the Constitution, is the Vice President of the United States. He is not a member of the Senate and can only vote in case of a tie. The official chair of the Senate is the President pro tem, who is selected by the majority party and presides in lieu of the Vice President. It is primarily an honorific office with few duties and no power. The President pro tem is usually the senior senator of the majority party. Usually junior senators actually preside over the Senate. The true power in the Senate is the majority leader, who is elected by the majority party. The Senate also has a minority leader and whips for both parties. A whip is a senator who helps the party leader stay informed about what party members are thinking, rounds up members when important votes are to be taken, and attempts to keep a nose count on how the voting on an issue is likely to go. He also generally has other senators, junior senators, for his assistance. Each party has a whip. The term comes from the Old English of whipper in, right, to bring people together. Each party, there's a committee system within the Senate also. There's a policy committee, which helps the party leaders schedule business, including what issues and the order of their discussion. The key one is the group that assigns senators to the standing committees or permanent committees of the Senate. Most bills die in committees. Fewer than 10% of the over 8,000 bills considered in any Congress proceed beyond the committee stage. Committees can have a lot of power in the legislative process, and committee chairs can refuse consideration of a bill and refuse to let it go to the floor if they so choose. Bills can be forced out of committee through a discharge petition in the House, but this is rarely done. The Democrats have a steering committee, which is the key group in the Senate, and the Republicans have what is known as a committee on committees. Having your own party control the chairmanships is very important because it helps determine what issues will get to the floor for a vote. Selecting party leaders is affected by ideology, personal popularity, ability to make an effective TV appearance, and who owes whom for what favors. Party structure in the House. Because of the size of the House, there are many more rules and the structure is much more rigid. Okay? The Speaker is the only House officer mentioned in the Constitution. The Speaker is elected at the beginning of each new session of Congress by the entire House. The Speaker and all committee chairs are members of the majority party in Congress. This is not a rule, but a political fact. The Speaker in the 113th Congress is Speaker Boehner, Republican from Ohio. Generally, a Speaker serves until he or she leaves the House, chooses to step down, or if his or her party loses the majority. The Speaker presides over the House, oversees House business, is the official spokesperson for the House, and is second in line of presidential succession. If the President and Vice President both died, the Speaker would become President. The Speaker is expected to be a liaison with the President and promote his or her party's legislation through the Congress. Other House leaders. We also have a majority leader who is the second most important person in the House. We also have majority whips who maintain contacts and rally support on the floor among the majority party. You also have the minority party, or the minority leader, which is the leader of the minority party. And you also have the minority whips, which maintain contacts and rally support among minority party members. One other thing we should mention is that the Speaker has an informal power, which is the control of some patronage jobs in the Capitol building and the assignment of extra office space. Each party also has assistant whips who help round up votes from the state delegations. Democrats make committee assignments and schedule legislation in a steering and policy committee chaired by the Speaker if the Democrats are in a majority. Republicans make committee assignments in the Committee on Committees and schedule policy discussions in the Policy Committee. Each party has a congressional campaign committee to provide money to other party members running for the House. How strong are the party structures? Well, first I need to refer you to page 332 in your textbook. All right, first of all, the ability of party leaders to get their members to vote together on the rules and structure of Congress is extremely important. Your textbook will tell you that today's Senate is less party-centered, less leader-oriented, more hospitable to freshmen, more heavily staffed, and more subcommittee-oriented than it was in the past. Since the election of President Obama, I would disagree with that. I think that your Senate is just as party-centered as your House. And so it remains to be seen if there will be any structural changes. The one structural change we have seen is the filibuster, which is definitely an organizational change, and change in the Senate is very, very rare. I think it also needs to be mentioned why a member of Congress might seek a particular committee. Either interest or expertise in the area, the subject matter is important to their district, so it'll help them get reelected. They have access to pork barrel, which allows them to bring home the bacon to the district. Power and influence within Congress, attracting campaign funds, or to support and defend interests that are vital to their district or their state. Representatives and senators are placed on committees by their party selection committee. They get a chance to express a preference, but not all requests are granted, and someone must serve on the bad committees, like Ethics or the District of Columbia Governance Committee. Committee membership generally reflects the balance of parties in the chamber, and we've mentioned this before. The House has 19 standing committees and 86 subcommittees, roughly parallel to the departments in the bureaucracy. The Senate has 16 standing committees and 68 subcommittees. Those numbers fluctuate depending upon the election and also depending upon who the executive is in the White House. In general, the membership of committees in the Senate more accurately reflects the partisan split in the chamber than committee membership in the House. The House has a unique committee, the Rules Committee, in which majority party members are appointed directly by the Speaker. This committee reviews all bills before they go to the full chamber and determines the rule under which each bill will be considered and the date on which it will be heard. It can also specify whether and what kind of amendments might be allowed. Bills considered under a, quote, closed rule, unquote, cannot be amended. Senators hold more committee assignments than House members. Senators, therefore, tend to be generalists, whereas House members develop more in-depth specialties. The House tends, as a body, to defer to its committees in their decisions. The Senate is a more individualistic body, and senators tend to look at committee decisions as recommendations to be discussed at greater length and challenged. The committee chairs themselves choose when and if the committee will consider any given bill. They can convene meetings when opponents are absent and adjourn meetings when things are going badly. Chairs have a lot of power, including control of staff budgets and influence over the life and death of bills. The power of committee chairs in the House has decreased in recent years due to reforms that were implemented in the late 1990s. House committees prevent chairs from serving for more than 6 years, 3 terms, and House chairs can no longer serve as their own subcommittee chairs. In addition, House chairs are no longer selected by seniority as they are in the Senate. We need to talk a little bit about party unity and party polarization. As far as party unity is concerned, party polarization, or a vote in which majority, we need to go back. Okay, pardon me for it skipping forward like that. Okay. Party polarization is defined there for you. A measure of party strength is the cohesion of the parties on votes that elicit a party split. Today's party splits often reflect sharp ideological differences between the parties, where in the past they represented routine operations of parties interested in election and power. Okay. Almost all of the Democrats vote one way and almost all of the Republicans vote one way, vote a different way. And if that occurs, this is called bimodal. It often doesn't reflect the American public, who is usually in the middle of the spectrum, all right? But we do see voters becoming more partisan, especially since the days of George W. Bush. The question is, why does this occur? I think I'll put that on the next, on part 3. So I'm going to stop this now.